Nigeria sits on over 37 billion barrels of oil. Venezuela has the largest proven reserves on the planet. Angola pumps millions of barrels every single day. And yet, Nigeria has a poverty rate above 40%. Venezuela collapsed into one of the worst economic crises in modern history. Angola ranks among the poorest nations on Earth.
How is this possible? How can a country be sitting on $1 trillion worth of liquid gold and still not be able to keep the lights on? This is not a coincidence. This is not bad luck. This is a system. And today, we are going to expose exactly how it works.
Economists have a name for this paradox. They call it the resource curse. It sounds like a myth, like something from an ancient story, but it is backed by decades of data. Countries that discover massive natural resource wealth often end up poorer, more corrupt, and more unstable than countries with nothing in the ground. But why? When oil money floods into a country, it strengthens the local currency. Sounds good, right? Wrong. A strong currency makes everything else the country produces, food, clothes, manufactured goods, too expensive to export. So farmers lose their markets, factories shut down. The entire economy collapses into one single industry, oil. Now the country doesn't make anything. It just pumps and sells. And the moment oil prices fall, everything falls with it.
Here is the second problem. When a government earns billions from oil, it doesn't need to tax its citizens. And when governments don't tax citizens, citizens don't demand accountability. In normal countries, you pay taxes, so you demand good schools, good roads, good hospitals. You vote out governments that waste your money. But in an oil state, the government funds itself. Citizens become dependent on government handouts, and the government answers to nobody, except the oil companies. Now here is the part they never teach you in school. When we say Nigeria has oil, what does that actually mean? Who controls it? Who profits from it? Let's follow the money. In most oil-rich developing nations, the government does not have the technology or capital to extract oil on its own. So they sign contracts with international oil companies: Shell, ExxonMobil, Chevron, Total Energies. These contracts, called production sharing agreements, are often signed in secret. For every barrel pumped, the foreign company takes a massive cut. Sometimes up to 70% of production goes back to the oil company before the host country sees a single dollar. The remaining percentage goes to the national oil company, which is often riddled with corruption and mismanagement. But it gets worse. Many oil companies use a legal trick called transfer pricing. They sell the oil to their own subsidiaries in tax havens at artificially low prices, then resell it at full market price. The profit is kept offshore. The host country is left with almost nothing. The IMF estimated that Africa loses over $50 billion every year to this kind of financial manipulation. That is more than the continent receives in foreign aid. So the country is getting a fraction of what its oil is worth. But it still needs to build roads, hospitals, pay soldiers, run a government. So what does it do? It borrows. And this is where the trap snaps shut. When oil-rich nations go to the World Bank or private lenders for loans, they are often required to use future oil production as collateral. This means the oil hasn't even been pumped yet, and it's already mortgaged to a foreign bank. Nigeria has done this. Angola has done this. Congo has done this. They are selling tomorrow's oil to pay for today's problems. When countries can't repay, the IMF steps in with a bailout. But the bailout comes with conditions, called structural adjustment programs. These conditions typically require the country to cut government spending, remove fuel subsidies, and open their markets to foreign goods. The result? Prices rise. Local industries collapse under foreign competition. Poverty deepens. And the country takes another loan to survive. It is a cycle with no exit door, by design. There is one more layer to this story that almost nobody talks about. In 1974, the United States made a secret deal with Saudi Arabia. America would provide military protection, and in return, Saudi Arabia would only sell its oil in US dollars. Other OPEC nations followed, and just like that, every country on Earth that needed to buy oil needed to first get US dollars. This created an almost unlimited demand for the American currency. The US could print dollars, buy oil, and export inflation to the rest of the world. For oil-producing nations outside this agreement, those who tried to sell oil in other currencies, the consequences were severe. Iraq's Saddam Hussein switched to euros in 2000. Libya's Gaddafi proposed a gold-backed African currency. Both countries were destabilized within years. Coincidence? You decide.
So, is this permanent? Are oil-rich poor nations trapped forever? Not necessarily. History shows us a few nations that escaped the curse. Norway discovered oil in the 1960s. Instead of spending the money immediately, they created a sovereign wealth fund, a national savings account. Today, Norway's oil fund is worth over $1.7 trillion. Every Norwegian citizen is technically a millionaire on paper. The difference? Norway had strong institutions, low corruption, and full government control over its oil resources before the oil companies arrived. Botswana discovered diamonds in 1967. Instead of letting foreign companies take control, they negotiated 50-50 ownership of all diamond mines with De Beers. The revenue went into education and infrastructure. Botswana became one of Africa's fastest-growing economies for 3 decades. The lesson is clear. Resource wealth can work, but only when the country controls the terms, the contracts, and the money.
So the next time someone asks why oil-rich countries are still poor, you now know it is not about the oil. It is about who controls the contracts, who structures the debt, who benefits from the currency system, and who gets to write the rules of the global economy. The oil is not a blessing or a curse. It is just leverage, and right now, most of that leverage is in someone else's hands. But knowledge is the first step to change. If this video opened your eyes, share it with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe for more economic truths the world runs on, and leave a comment. Which oil-rich country's story do you want us to investigate next? I'll see you in the next one.